Hello, Narnach here. Welcome back to Path of Exile. We are playing the Harbinger League for the Fall of Oriath expansion. Last episode we arrived in Act 6 and had a chat with everybody. So this episode we're gonna actually start playing. As I mentioned a couple times during the playthrough, things get more difficult the further we get. Resistances are important. So in that spirit, I took a little bit of time to go back to Act 5. I ran the rooftops and the ruin square for a couple times only. But I did take some effort to max out or nearly max out my resists, and my fire resistance are slightly overcapped. In a ideal case, you even overcap them even more. The reason why will become apparent soon enough once we leave the Twilight Strand and go towards the other side of town. But I figured I'll mention this once again. It is important. Make sure your resists are good because you did lose 30% of them. And this Act 6 might look like you're in Cruel Act 1, but it's not going easy on you. So in order to fix my resists, I equipped this pyre that we found a couple of episodes ago. The only reason I'm equipping this is because it has cold and fire resistance in reasonable quantity, and it is better than any of the rare rings I've found so far. All of the other mods, the bonuses to burning and the cold conversion, I really don't care. This is just a resistance ring, nothing special about it. Same here, crafted a little bit of life on my gear. Some lightning resistance over here. And this one is still the same as it was before. A little bit of chaos rest, a little bit of +1 to minions. It's difficult enough to obtain that I figured let's just stick with what we've got. And eventually we will find something that will replace it. So I think that's mostly it. So in the skill tree, slowly leveling towards the jewel socket so we can equip this violent dead jewel that we obtained before. But with that said, let's leave town and do a full clear of the Twilight Strand. It says clear the Twilight Strand, they mean it. Every single enemy here must die. Luckily the new minimap system is gonna help you with that, since it allows you to very accurately see just what is happening. Okay, so the undead here, when they die, I don't know, their ghost gets set on fire or something, so it just leaves out and then it strikes you like a mortar or something else that would strike from the sky. So the regular minions are doing a pretty good job of killing them. The Dark Pact just helps them do it a little better. And these are of course the nobles that try to flee the island. It didn't really come quite far. Gem with a little bit of quality. Of course, if you sell gems with 40% quality on them, in total, multiple gems, if you have 40% quality in total, you can sell them to a vendor for a gem cutter's prism, which allows you to apply 1% quality to a gem of your choosing. So that is useful. For Dark Pact, for every 2% of quality that you apply to it, you get a 1% increased area of effect. See, right here, plus 1% increased area of effect. So definitely worth looking at the masters whenever you do their daily quests, their gem inventory refreshes, and that gets you access to another 3 different gems that potentially have some quality on them that you can buy. Speaking of masters, I obtained Immortal Call from Haku as a part of the things I could buy from one of the daily quests. So that is now part of our setup. We no longer have to help out the lovely lady that sent us here to clear the beaches. Because the reward for that is that she will become the town's gem vendor. That's the basically where this is all going and the reason why we're doing this side quest. And besides the obvious of wanting to do all the quests, main and side quests all together. One monster remains, and that is gonna be the boss. Hello there, Reese of Abram. Who is pretty dead. And also part of our kill list. Very lovely. So, with that, we can walk back to town, have a chat with Lily.
A wretched sight. So many drowned Oriathans cast into undeath. You freed them from their torment, and I'm sure they'd be grateful. Here, that little something extra I were talking about. Though the sea takes away, it gives back in greater measure.
2 passive respects.
While you be skulking about, I've managed to do a bit of hunting on my own. Got a hole full of baubles and trinkets here, which I managed to, procure. Take a look. You might find something particularly naughty to help you on your life's voyage.
Something particularly naughty. Ooh, trade.
You have the look of a wayfarer about you. I've a few bits and bobs in the hold that I managed to salvage from Oriath. Might be you're in the market for a little insurance for the road. The sort of nautical charm or a quaff of tonic be providing. Go on, have a look-see. And if you're thinking to trade, I reckon we can come to a fair arrangement.
Okay, so gem vendor. And this, contrary to the ghost back in Act 3, also includes the very, very top end of support gems. So you get the Immortal Call, which is a witch you cannot get from the vendors in Act 4. And I think Brutality was not part of the list for me either. So from this point onward, all the gems with the exception of, I think, added chaos damage. Let's just double check. Yeah. So all the gems that you could regularly obtain from a vendor, you can now buy from Lily Roth. Okay. So let's just grab ourselves some respect points. That solves that. And then just stash this away. Put this one in the bin with some gems. And then push forward. Because I don't think anyone should have anything to say about that side quest. Nope. Okay, so let's head over to the coast. Last we were here, back in Act 1. This was infested with crabs and some zombies and... Oh, no, not zombies, they were cannibals. Yeah, they were humanoids, but they were cannibals. So, well, the coast has changed a little bit. Got some warhounds here. Two-headed improvement on the good old Hellions. Also, they dig themselves places. But this is just a small change. One of the more interesting things, which I'm actually surprised is taking this long to run into. Nope, it's not the crustacean snipers. Those are also not that special. More warhounds? Oh, come on. Where's an enemy if you want to show them off? That's why they're enemies, right? You just can't rely on them. Yay, there they are. Tukohama's warriors. There are a bunch of angry Karui here. And yes, they are using Scorching Ray totems, including the penetration of your fire resistance. And to be honest, I never actually bothered checking just how far it goes. given that my resistances used to be a lot lower on my previous characters and I was a melee. In this case, once we encounter some of those Kurui, let's actually see if it's as strong as we can get it as players. Or whether this is a slightly modified, neutered version. Oh. There's Hara, something. Tukohama's loyal. This hot dog does not mess around. It actually was the first thing I died to with my first, with my character in Beta 1, if I remember correctly. It's at least it's the first thing I died to where I wasn't trying to test its mechanics. I just underestimated it and I got massacred. Okay, Totem. Come on, Totem. Totem. Okay, I might have a little issue standing in the Totem intentionally here. So as a player, I believe you can get 8 stacks of -3 resists applied to an enemy for 24% resistance reduction in total. So assume these totems can do the same to you. That means at 80 overcapped, I can get reduced as low as 56 if I were to get hit. Obviously, got a swarm of minions around me, then there is going to be safety in numbers, since it doesn't seem like the targeting of those totems is smart enough to prioritize me over the minions. But that's the path to the side. Twilight. Because that's for Bastel's manuscript. Have to help him increase spirits in town. Lift the mood. Oh, in other notes, interesting tidbits I saw on Reddit. Remember the bit of where at some points I have been surprised about Harbinger League because I hadn't encountered the Harbinger for multiple areas, and how ever since I landed in Act 5, it seemed like the spawn rate of Harbingers had at least increased to get a 1 per area. And people are still clamoring that no, Harbinger itself is kind of a disappointing mechanic, and well, it's very gentle, it's very in the background. People expecting more from it, I can definitely understand. But I did see that Bex, the head community manager for Path of Exile, responded on Twitter that tomorrow they're gonna post something about it. So, as I'm recording this on Thursday the 10th here in Europe, that means that on Friday we should hear about something. Though, yeah, fun thing of course, I'm recording my episodes in advance, so chances are by the time you're seeing this video, the news might have actually already landed a couple days ago, but yeah. That's one of the downsides of recording episodes in advance. It's great for giving me some flexibility with my schedule, and just having a couple of days recorded in advance allows me to effectively take a night off from recording when I don't feel like recording or when I've got something else to do, but it does make it a little more difficult to be more timely with my news updates while playing. But maybe it's also a good reminder to, if there's something truly newsworthy, to actually make separate videos for them, instead of just talking about stuff only during my videos. Anyway, in the background there, we did kill Riptide, a water elemental unique opponent, whom I think is just next on the list. Yeah, so far I haven't missed a single opponent. That is good. 3 rash. Sure, I like that. And then just explode whatever's remaining. Okay, salad boots. It's 45 area, I'm 49. I don't think these are on a level anymore. Can get something better. But technically the item level is the most important bit for the enchantments. The built-in modifiers on boots and gloves. They're not really all that strong, so most of the time, especially for boots. Now, one of the prefixes you usually want to have dedicated to movement speed, so that only leaves 2 modifiers. One of them is probably gonna be life.
Of immense power.
So the only remaining of the prefixes, no, could be a bonus to armor and energy shield in case of these hybrid boots, or it could be life and energy shield if it were pure energy shield. But it doesn't really matter because, well, percentage bonus on boots. If you got 28 energy shield to work with, then even 100% increase is only going to give you another 28 energy shield to work with. So, no, that's, the point there is it's not really that important to have them always on level. Body armor is the most important one because it is the strongest. Okay, let's listen to Bestel's masterwork, masterpiece.
Marvelous. Oh, yes, yes, it's all here. Act 1, Scene 1. Along the shoreline, the beach grass sways, a blazing sun sinks 'neath sparkling bays. Oh, strange be the night when the drowned dead rise, and a pale moon ascends upon cold skies. The stranger still is lost to me, those silken pillows upon which I lay at sea. It's moody, atmospheric, not as funny as I remember. But I'm sure it gets better in Act 2. Regardless, you have my thanks. Please, take something for your efforts. And next time you're in town, do come and see the show. I'll leave your name at the door. If I can salvage a door from somewhere, that is.
Good old Bestel. Okay, so let's go for something that boosts our stats. Strength and Dex is probably the interesting one. Oh, alternatively going for a new belt might not be bad either. Okay, so this one is most out of date, item level 28, so let's go for that one. Is it actually better? Some spell damage on there. A little bit of lightning resist. But all in all, nothing to really get excited about. So let's get all the currency stuff out of the way. This one away. Okay, next up. Making our way forwards. Switch to Mudflats for Nessa. And don't get assassinated by Tukohama's followers. Tukohama, you're wondering? Isn't that one of the Karui gods? Oh, you would be right about that.
Over here, Exile.
Hey, Thor. So some of the Tukohama archers are using a frost version of the it's not the rain of arrows, it's the other one. Blast rain. Hey, got my. I did see my resists recover back to 80%. And there's these lovely buildings here now. There's one more Roa. So down to 71 at least. Oop. Okay, as I say, they now do damage, these lovely Karui. And you'd better be careful for a melee build or anything else that doesn't have lots and lots of minions to distract the enemy. You will be taking damage. In my case, I can simply hide behind waves and waves of minions. And there is the dank den. Guess that's where the dank memes spawn from. And bugs everywhere, as far as the eye can see. Put some skellies on both sides. And then just let the chaining happen. Mix in some skellies in the middle. And then it truly becomes a blast. And there we are. So castman damage taken, level that one up, and now finally our bone offering is part of that lovely little collective. So we can flip things around a little bit. Also, leveling up gave us the dual socket. So a violent head goes in. Our zombies should now slam more often, and the slam should do more damage. And in general, all of our minions will do more damage. Also, Tora is happy. Tora is level 3. Once I get one of my other masters to level 5, I can actually allow her into my hideout. Also, speaking of masters, I still haven't seen Vegan. I think he might just be on vacation or something. I just figured like, yeah, I know. I'll just skip this whole 3.0 expansion. I'll be back for 3.1. Well, he's been here loyally ever since he got introduced to the game, so I'm sure he deserves a vacation. Rogue Exile. Well, somewhere in there.
They flee from the eyes of Oriath.
Somewhere in here was a Rogue Exile. Honestly, didn't really see who it was. Because I was too busy exploding chaos underneath him. Which worked out rather well, I might add. Okay. So let's empty some pockets. And then go back and probably end up filling my pockets yet again. The prophecy that has you encountering a Rogue Exile filled to the brim with rare items. Definitely good for your currency stash. And potentially for some decent item drops as well. Okay. Let's move forward. So we're searching for Nessa. Oh, there's some forgotten warriors here. I must admit, ironically, I had forgotten about them. No idea what they belong to. Ah, the Dishonored Queen. Okay, let's just do some blowing up here. We got the Eye of Conquest from you. Ah, yes. Also, Nessa, up there.
He did this to me. The King of Brine. And he wants me to be... Oh God. Please. I don't know how I'm doing this, nor if I may again. Help me. Help us before...
Nessa, the mermaid. That's not a good way to end up, I suppose. Mermaid and something of the Brine King. At least we got a lovely eye here. Tarklik, yes, he will want to hear about that.
You've seen Nessa. Talk to her. Well, that's more than I dared hope for, truth be told. This change she's going through, this curse the so-called Brine King has put on her, it can be broken. I know it. You've got to keep going. Follow her trail before it gets any colder. Make your way along the coast, the ship graveyard, even Mervale's cave if you must. By my reckoning, this king's not the sort to venture far from his briny bed. The submerged passage. It's underwater again, and there's no sign of those shells you used to drain it. Fortunately, there's another way to reach Axiom Prison and beyond. A path I scouted out myself, through what was once the fetid pool, and then along the ridge above it. Problem is, whatever's brought those Karui revenants to life has also sealed the pool entranceway with a bloody great totem. Now, I'm no expert on Karui carving, but there's a pair of empty eye sockets on the thing that just don't look right. Find that totem's eyes, and I reckon you've found your way in.
Okay, so his dialogue is completely off. So that Karui relic you're carrying looks bloody familiar. Yeah, I've seen this twin stuck in a totem guarding Tukohama's doorstep. If I were you, and in this case, I'm glad I'm not, I'd see about putting that eye back where it belongs. Might do nothing at all, but it's worth a shot, I reckon. Right.
Farewell.
So this Eye of Conquest, seemingly useful. Just quickly checking with the others. Sin has something to say about the Father of War.
From here to the beast, the journey is long and arduous. You are strong for a mortal, yet the beating of this war drum shall burst your human heart. So we must fortify it with something a little more divine in nature. While a god may fall, their essence lingers, a quiet cacophony outside of your perception. That essence can be yours to galvanize your will and invigorate your body. I have the perfect first donor for us. Tukohama, the Father of War. In a pool once foul and fetid, he has raised a fortress now ferocious and fearsome. Best you pay him a visit before he also raises that ugly son of his, and unleashes him upon what remains of Rayclast. The Karui were a peaceful culture of farmers and fishermen, before fate thrust the great Tukohama upon them. It was he who put the stone axes in their hands, and the hunger for conquest in their bellies. Farmers quenched their dry fields in blood. Fishermen emptied their holds of fish and filled them with land-greedy hordes. Battle by battle, war by war, Tukohama carved the steps that would carry him up a mountain of severed heads and into immortality. Tukohama's axe is called anger, his spear is called greed, and the victims are the minds and hearts of all Karui.
So, lovely fella, that Tukohama. And Lily has nothing to say. So, then there's only one thing remaining for us to do. Let's kill ourselves a god. For real this time. The trial run with Kitava kind of failed. Oh, Innocence, he fell. That went alright. So let's do it more like Innocence, less like Kitava. Oh, hello, Harbingers. Yay, putting my totems between their totems. All totem friends. Must admit, Tukohama, or not Tukohama, the Harbinger. Harbingers only wish they were Tukohama. The Harbingers raising enemies that raise totems does make things explode in interesting ways. It's a bit like if you had the Lunaris temple with those animators that reanimate zombies. You can get some interesting things as well if they manage to spawn an army for themselves. Okay, and then there is a door with a big totem or something, doorway. And we can open it. We lost our eye. We can enter. the fortress. So this used to be a pretty dark and gloomy place. And eventually there would be a Necromancer. Also, I think I spotted another Harbinger in the back. Yep, there's a Harbinger in the back. Still wish my flame dash looked like that. Okay, at least the dude is dead. This dude do that. Not quite sure actually what it is. And then at some point, I'm gonna encounter. Wait. Something seemed to shoot back at me. A little odd. I might have confused that with the frost blast arrows, rain things. Yeah, blast arrow, rain things. That's a perfectly normal, natural term for it. Okay. But it is interesting to see though that fire bound as they are, the archers do frost damage. Okay, and here is Tukohama's keep. So we will clear that one first. But first let's empty our pockets, then after that we can just push forward. More space for more loot. Okay, got a full complement of 7 zombies. We got ourselves our golem. So let's face the gods.
Let me teach you the laws of war.
So he's a bit angry. Might be family of King Calm. He's also a bit of an angry dude. But his life is going down really rapidly. And it's not just the Dark Pact. The Minions are doing a pretty solid job as well, just murdering him. So we got the nasty Totem in the middle, just continuously doing damage. Now we got some totems that provide him with a shield. Even more shield, more things that just do damage from the sidelines. Good thing is we're a range build, means we do have the advantage of mobility. Our minions do most of the running and the damaging, and they provide a steady amount of damage. And then the addition of some skeletons that we can Dark Pact simply makes it easy to do damage from a distance and not really to focus too much on our own positioning. Just have to make sure we're out of the way. The life leech that I've got on Dark Pact does help in fights like this, because you saw I was getting damaged on my life. In that case, doing damage also helps me heal a little bit. And our buddy Sin has descended.
I am Sin, thief of virtue, and it is mine to take what I will from the defeated, to make a gift of it to the victorious. Alas, your mortal frame cannot withstand the unfettered fire of deism. It would turn your blood to mist and scorch your precious flesh black. So choose modestly and choose wisely, for there is much more at stake here than your little hopes and dreams.
So this introduces the Pantheon system. 4 major gods and a number of minor gods. 2, 4, 6, 7. I thought there were more on this side as well, but I guess I was wrong about that. They are small, passive, defensive bonuses that some of them are better and more useful than others, I might admit. And once we reach maps, they can be upgraded. So in this case, we've unlocked the Soul of Tukohama. While stationary, gain 2% additional physical damage reduction each second, up to a maximum of 8%. And it's not actually saying anything. The keyboard shortcut for this is Y. And last I checked, it was not in the menu down here. Talking with Sin can always allow you to open it, and it will show you the shortcut key. You can change these souls in town, outside of town. Whenever you defeat a god, you are always able to equip it if you want, but in battles and things like that, you cannot change them. The souls can be improved. You see below, capture a Torre Towering Ancient. If you find some kind of flask, a unique item, some kind of flask thing that you can insert into the map device along with the map, that will cause the map itself to drop the soul of that boss for you once you defeat it. But I understand the boss will be more difficult to defeat. In the beta, I've not played a lot with the maps, and I haven't actually seen one of those. I think it was a Divine Vessel, that might actually be the item. So that part of how the souls work is a little bit foggy to me, but I'm sure we will figure it out once we make it to maps. But for now, we have a little bit of additional physical damage reduction while stationary, and that's going to be enough for now. So we defeated Tukohama, and I know that the next area has a waypoint at the start, so that is where we're gonna walk, and then we're gonna end this episode. So we let's not get hit too much there. So with all the things around here, might as well re-raise some zombies. And let's look for an exit. So we managed to cleanse the beaches, we've managed to kill ourselves a god, and we found out that Nessa turned into a mermaid. Though she doesn't really seem to be all that happy with it, and there's something about a Brine King that she talked about. And of course we still have our original objective to go after Chevron in prison. So we found ourselves here on the ridge. Looks rather gloomy. Next episode we're going to continue here. For now though, we should have a chat with Tarkly.
You've killed the Karui war god. Can you kill a god? Look, I can't even begin to understand what you've just done. Vestal will be able to put our gratitude into words more fitting of a legend. Me, I'll work with what I know. A solid reward for a damn fine deed.
Skill points. I like him. Ooh, he's got something to say about Chevron of Umbra.
Axiom Prison has been fairly quiet since he saw fit to retire its warden. Afraid that's no longer the case. Chevron of Umbra, the very witch that made Brutus the man he was. I don't know if she's a ghost, a ghoul, or some other death-scorning creature I've never heard of, but she's up there, tinkering away with her black arts and twisting nature around her bony old fingers. Honestly, I don't care why she's come back, or what cruelty she's brewing up there. She's a boil that needs lancing before the infection spreads.
So, that's pretty clear. Vestal's got some things to say.
You do know it's cruel to make jests of an addled mind, don't you? Nessa, alive, and turned into a bloody cod? Huh! That said, you've never been wrong before. So seems like I'm going to have to stare this fanciful tale in its fishy face. She talked of the Brine King, did she? Now there's a name what can trouble the breeches of even the most jaded of poets. Though Mervale might be dead, the sea still has its seductive songs, and this time it's a big, briny baritone doing the wailing. Screams, howls and booms of unholy intonation. The shriek and clank of some unfathomable apparatus, and the pervading stench of scorched flesh and boiling blood. That's Axiom Prison, now that Our Lady of Umbra has come home to roost. As a poet, I have nothing against a little creativity. Yet while I might mould word and wonder, Chevron's art tends towards the visceral, flesh, bone, and soul. Artistic pursuit is the loftiest of callings, but in this instance, I believe some rigorous criticism is in order.
Rigorous criticism. I think I'm pretty good at that, Art. Let's have a chat with... Wait. Ah, Lily is now in town. In her new place. Because it is indeed a little bit far to walk there. Lily Roth. And nothing to... So we got ourselves a skill point. I think for now I'll just focus a little bit on the defenses, since we are in what is effectively cruel, and we do want to build up our health pool because things are only gonna get more dangerous and gnarly from here on out. So we got some of the easy things already. Heart and Soul is something that initially I didn't pick because life is nice, but the mana is not actually all that great until you also have Mind over Matter. Now that we do, and we've taken all the other things, Heart and Soul is a fine thing to pick up. And after that we'll have a look at what's going to be more efficient to pick up. But for now we have reached a nice point to cut the episode. So I'm gonna thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you again next time. Bye bye.